Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Courage does not consist in feeling no fear, but in conquering fear. He is the hero who, seeing the lions on either side, goes straight on, because there his duty lies. I like that. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a real-life patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call in. Good morning. Oh, I'll tell you what, that lady, I never tire of her voice. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call at 734-6969. And right now, let's go to the phone line and get our Pledge of Allegiance person on. Good morning.
Well, good morning again, sir.
What is going on? Nobody wants to do the pledge anymore? My goodness.
I guess I'm just really ecstatic to do it.
I can see you just absolutely doing wheelies. Okay.
Yes, my cheeks are puffy.
After doing the wheelies? Never mind. Go ahead with the pledge, please.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well done. Thank you, sir. And by the way, to the listeners out in the audience, come on now, please. Don't quit on that pledge. That's an important thing for me on this program. And it's just like Kate Smith with God Bless America and everything else. Our patriotism should be in the forefront. Right now, let's go and have the weather, sponsored by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. And you know, they've given me some more tips for kind of fixing up, sprucing up, and decorating your home. Add plants to your living space. Add them to every room, small or large, few or many. Plants are an inexpensive means of accessorizing your space and adding color and texture. There you go. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, whatever you need to make your house a home. Right now, here is Gina with the weather.
Here's your Tuesday weather forecast for the 26th of April. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds will continue out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 58 tonight, low of 38. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, but the winds are going to be dying down. Looks like a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40. Mostly cloudy, and 62 for Thursday, and by Friday, looks like partly cloudy and 63. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 40. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And well done, I might say, too, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. By the way, too, I want to remind you that Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. And the number to call for consignment information, sale information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade, Rogge, Lance Udy, the sale that works for you. 10:30 starting time at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Thursday, sale day. Be sure and give them a call, 678-9411. Oh, my goodness, we got a lot of things cooking today on the program. Frosty Woldridge and representatives from the Rock Creek Fire Department, along with Dr. History, a guest stand-in this morning. Gary Stone and his lovely wife, Bev, I believe, are going to be on the phone with us with Dr. History. And then Curtis Ellis is going to be talking about more dependency on government. Are we dumb or not? We're going to be talking about certain things that are going on with new bills, new legislation, and new regulations, so don't miss a minute of it. By the way, too, it's political season. And Jay Heward would like your vote to be re-elected Cassia County Sheriff on May 17th. Born and raised in Burley High School graduate, and Idaho State University, and has been in police work for over 36 years. He has the knowledge of his job and experience, and through hard work, he's always working for you. Jay Heward knows what to do. He knows his job and his constitutional responsibilities, so please remember a sheriff you can depend on in any circumstance, Jay Heward. Vote Jay Heward for Cassia County Sheriff, paid for by the Heward for County Sheriff Committee. Steve Westfall, Treasurer. Also want to remind you about that May 17th, and I just can't amplify enough. I do not want to hear a low percentage rate. I want people to get out and go to the polls. May 17th is primary election day. On behalf of Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood, and the Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, go vote May 17th. Don't forget that. And take your picture ID with you. I know what. Well, listen, that's the way it is. And you should be proud as an American citizen voting to show your ID and let everybody know, yes, you voted. Don't forget May 17th, primary election day, paid for by Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood, and House Speaker Scott Bedke. Thank you very much. All right. Now, with all that, it is your turn to give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a troubling story for me to accept on the news just a few minutes ago. And I want to check and see how many of you picked up on that. Give me a call. Where Obama was saying that we're going to have a shield processed and produced that will possibly deflect North Korean missiles. Now, all that sounds well and good, but when are we going to be proactive? When are we going to be more on the offensive instead of on the defensive? The world is a firecracker right now. I was reading in Newsmax magazine this month's edition, and it's scary. It's absolutely scary as to all the different hotspots, all the different issues, and all the different fuses that are just waiting for the strike of a match. And we sit back with this administration, and quite frankly, as much as I study this administration and I look at what they're doing and or not doing, it leads one to have a real perspiring brow. Build a shield to deflect North Korean missiles. Well, that should tell you that, golly gee whiz, maybe they're not the bumbling boobs that we think they are. Caller, be patient with me just a moment. I got to get this in. I'll be right with you, I promise. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, 878-8900, the number to call. And if you prepay when you take your clothes in, you'll get a 10% discount. They are the best. Oh, yes, I take all my rumply crumplies in there, and they come back looking brand new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Thank you very much. Along with our friends at SafeLink Internet, my goodness, we couldn't have this program on the air without SafeLink. All the information that we get off the internet every day, thanks to my blushing bride, my goodness, they are reliable. My goodness, they are fast. And they've got over 10,000 customers in this area and growing. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. And they've got some employment opportunities over there for you, too. Give them a call, 677-8000, SafeLink Internet. Thank you, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hi, Tony.
Obama isn't capable of making huge decisions like this. What he's doing is just stalling, and he's going to dump this whole thing in the lap of the new president.
Tony, you've
It's going to happen.
You've been here with us for many, many years, thank the good Lord, and you've seen many presidents, you've seen many administrations, and you've watched many crises develop around the world. When you look at the state of affairs of today, with North Korea and their fat little leader threatening us and testing more missiles, and then you look at what's going on over in Asia, you look at what's going on in the Middle East, you look at what's happening with ISIS, you look at what happens in Europe. How concerned are you?
I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned for the younger generation coming up. This country's about ready to fall, and if we don't get a strong leader in here, it won't be any time at all before this country is taken over by a foreign government.
You know, when you hear that we're going to develop are the key words, a shield to deflect any North Korean missiles with our electronic systems, et cetera, we're always playing, in my opinion, defense instead of offense to thwart the problem. Do you agree with me or not?
Oh, absolutely. Barack Obama as a president is a huge joke. If we have somebody that had guts to stand up against these North Koreans and the Chinese, we wouldn't be having the problem we've got today.
I agree.
We've got a weakling up there.
You know, and so much of that is true. I do not have any respect for, nor did I even before he ran for president, Barack Obama. I find him to be a toothless old hound dog laying on the back porch because he didn't want to draw any attention on the front porch. And I agree with you. Tony, it's always good to hear from you. God bless you, man.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I would like to ask the audience this morning, do you think right now today, April 29th, 2016, that we are on more of a kind of a thin ice program worldwide than we've ever been before? Are you more afraid and alerted to the dangers than you have been ever before? Give me a call. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. What do you say about America's Diner, especially the locations here in Magic Valley, other than using this word, great? Absolutely great. Thomas and the crew, Terry at Burley. I mean, man, oh man, the food, the people, everything is first class and excellent. You're going to love it. Breakfast, lunch, and or dinner, anytime, all the time. Like I said, at America's Diner. I had that prime rib omelet the other day. Oh, I loved it with some great hot sauce salsa on top of it. Oh, gee whiz, that makes me hungry. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 Overland in Burley, and 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Also, our thanks go out to Ramsey Heating and Electric. Hello, Ramsey's. There they are over there this morning. I can see them. They opened the door at 7:30 this morning. Stay open till 5 this afternoon, Monday through Friday. They're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they are always there to serve you with all your heating and electrical needs. Nice people, knowledgeable people. And they've been there for a long time and plan on staying there for a lot longer. Good folks at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Your calls are welcome. Come on, tell me what your thoughts are. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I run the risk of telling you this next little story, and some of the ladies in the audience might take offense at this, but it really, really is the truth. Yesterday, I watched Hillary in Philadelphia giving a speech. And the camera was not kind to Hillary yesterday because of many of the close-up shots they had of her face. Now, yesterday was more, I think, recognizable of the aging process than it was ever before when she's giving a speech. I don't know if she was hurried. I don't know if her handlers didn't do a very good job of putting her makeup on. But I'm telling you, I saw an old, tired grandmother up on the stage yesterday with a weather-beaten, crowfoot-eyed face and severe baggage under the eyes. Now, that is not to be criticizing her or her stand in politics. I'm just saying I saw a very tired, old lady yesterday, and a voice that was so raucous, and a personality that was just on the verge of losing her temper. And she did lose her temper later on in the day with an interviewer, and she's not helping herself whatsoever, which in my opinion is good, because I don't want her to even see the White House again unless it's on a guided tour. But she really doesn't portray the image of a person that should be President of the United States. And I think we need to really study Hillary Clinton. We need to really look at her stances on climate change, what she has said that she wants to do and change our way of living and doing things that is going to cost us a ton of money. Many of us, it's going to take our retirement funds right out of the fund bank and throw them into the federal government coffers. Same is true with gun control, illegal immigration, etc. This is not the America that we need right now. And I'm so afraid that she might get the office of the presidency. What are your thoughts? I mean, I saw Hillary yesterday that absolutely, I know I've chided her and I've made fun of her pantsuits and everything, but I saw a person that is maybe physically, health-wise, not responsible and able to be the president of the United States. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And really, I'm not being prejudiced against her, other than I saw something yesterday that was really concerning. Cutting edge curbing, 424 16th Street in Rupert. Yes, I'm telling you that Sarah and Mike Baxter would love to give you an estimate on your curbing that will add beauty and value to your property. They've got curbing in all different styles. The mower's edge, the square, the dome top, or the slant. I'm telling you, and different colors and different stamping on it. It will just absolutely, like I said, beautify and add value to your property. Call them today, 808-3360. Cutting Edge Curbing in Rupert. They're waiting for your phone call. Also want to acknowledge our dear friends over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Hello, Nick Greenwell, physical therapist, and all the staff. They have got the nicest, friendliest, most knowledgeable physical therapists over there. And they know all the exercises, all the sports medicine. They've got that hydrotherapy pool. I'm telling you, why are you waiting? Run, if you can, to the phone at 678-1191. 678-1191. Make an appointment. They can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Now, I asked for some calls, and I sure would like to have them. So give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Talk about Hillary and any other subject that comes to mind. And caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zed.
Hello there, partner.
Hey, you know, I noticed Hillary last night on, I think it was on Fox, that she was walking away, and this was an old lady. I'm almost 79 years old, and I still get around really, really good, but she acted like she was 85, maybe.
Did you, Keith, in fairness...
Did she ever got to be president? She'd probably lose her mind or something, and we'd be at war with Russia or something like that. I didn't trust her to start with, but I don't think she's of sound mind.
Some of the people And I am not going to mention names because I have not validated some of their writings, okay? But some people are going back to when Hillary supposedly fell and hit her head. And there have been people make comments about memory lapses. There have been people make comments about she's not the same with her personality. There have been a lot of comments made and written about. Now, whether they're bona fide or not, I don't know. But I think that if she is running for president of the United States, and whether it's her health reports, whether it's medical records of which they're supposed to release and make sure that everybody knows that they're in good shape to take over the number one office in the land, there are things that have changed about Hillary that have been very, very open to the world if you'll just look at her. And her looks on that stage yesterday in Philadelphia led me to think, uh-oh, there is problem here.
Yeah, if you compare her to Donald Trump, this guy's got a lot of gas left in his tank.
Yeah, that's true.
He just bounces around, and he's quick-witted and everything else. And Hillary just reminded me of somebody who's about 85 years old. Every step you take, you want to make sure you're not going to fall. And, that's how I projected her, but...
She gives the impression, she gives the impression, Keith, she gives the impression, I think, of one that is very cautious, one that is not going to step where she should not step, one that is going to really think carefully about the words, one that is really going to be cognizant about what's happening around her, because I don't think she's very sure of herself in a changeable situation.
And she looked frumpy.
Yeah,
That's
oh
what
boy.
I call it.
Absolutely. I agree with you always, my dear.
Lady.
Okay, thank you very much, Keith. God bless you, man. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. I think
a wonderful day.
I will, sir. Thank you. And I think he saw a lot of the same things I saw, and other people did too. I've got some news notes that have come in from around the country. Hey, Tim Darrington is running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. Lifelong resident of Cassia County, is a farmer, rancher, and steward of the land. He wants to provide good roads, safe environment, and a good quality of life for the citizens of Cassia County. And believe me, he wants what is best for the citizens of the county and for future generations with very smart growth. Vote for Tim Darrington, Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Darrington for Commissioner, Gail Erickson, Treasurer. Also want to remind you that Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar is running for re-election, a working sheriff out in the field doing any job necessary for you. His pledge to you is to make our community safer, and he appreciates your votes. Don't forget, he promises to give his best to you, the citizens of Minidoka County, every day. Paid for by the re-elect Eric Snar for Minidoka County Sheriff Committee, Jason Gibbons, Secretary. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, you asked the question about Hillary. Excuse me, I got to find my throat this morning. For the last several years, she has been kind of off, and some people may take offense to that, but it's the truth. She is older. She is less competent to hold any office that I've ever seen. I've watched her I did not see yesterday, but I've watched her over the last several months. She's never really been real attractive, but she's looking more like an old grandma.
You know,
that really needs to retire and just rock her babies in the rocking chair.
You know, I'm running a real risk here, my dear friend, but anytime a male talk show host starts talking about the good looks, bad looks, frumpy attitude, whatever, of a female, I'm running the risk of really getting cut at the knees. But I'm being honest. I'm trying to be honest that yesterday when I saw her speaking in Philadelphia, I saw an old, tired, not very competent person for the job.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's, maybe it did happen when she fell. I don't know. that there is a rumor that she has a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And I think that, excuse me, anybody that runs for public office needs to have an independent, physical, mentally, emotionally, and, pardon me, spiritually, if they're going to run this country.
You know, I will not get into speculation. You know me. I'm only going to deal with facts. And I have read various stories by various authors that have not been really confirmed and everything. So I'm not going to go there. But I am going to say that there are worries. And there absolutely are concerns about her health and her personality that have been open for discussion for the last couple of years. I appreciate your call, and I appreciate always your friendship. Thank you for your call.
Alrighty, have a great day, my friend.
You bet. God bless. Thank you. I got to get some commercials in here real quick, or I'm really going to be in trouble. Hey, don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. We talk every day on this show about the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. And so many recent studies about a link between hearing loss and cognitive decline. And so much she can help you with the hearing screening. I mean, it might be medicinally related to some of the prescriptions you're taking. You may have some problems with your heart. I mean, there's any number of things that could be causing a hearing loss. I urge you to call for a hearing screening today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital emergency room. And I urge you to get a hold of Dr. Christine Pickup today, 312-0957. And real quick, while I'm waiting, I want to remind you for more phone calls, Barry Equipment and Rental. I had a gentleman call me the other day and say, what did you say about those Coyote tractors at Barry Equipment and Rental? Did you really say 0% interest? I said, yes, I did. For 60 months, 60 months? I said, yes, I did. Well, he said, I got to get in there. You can't beat that deal with a stick. You better believe it. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. At Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations serving you. 3, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. I mean, all the equipment, the Doosan loaders, Bobcat equipment, Coyote tractors, Walker lawnmowers, oh, they are good. You check it out today at Barry Equipment and Rental. Really good people. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. 5 eastern states are having their primaries today. I got to see if I can remember them. Maryland, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, and, oh boy, come on, Zeb, don't let me down. Rhode Island. There you go. And it looks like, according to the polls that I have looked at, that on the Republican side, Donald Trump should easily take the majority of the votes in all those states. And on the left side, the left and wrong side, Hillary will probably be expected to win for the Democrats. You know, this so-called buddy system, honestly, I want somebody to call me on this. This so-called buddy system between Cruz and Kasich is, the more I think about it, the more it's unbelievable. That they would sit down over the telephone or in a dark room someplace and say, okay, now look, you and I got to get rid of Trump, and here's what we'll do. I'll run in Indiana, and you kind of back off in Indiana, and then I'll kind of back off over here, and you kind of take that, and we'll take the delegates away from Trump in those states. What in the world? And it's not working. It's not working. Already we see kind of a fracturing of what might have been an agreement between Cruz and Kasich. It's almost like, here's my right hand. Oh, I've never met my left hand. It seems like a mess, and I honestly think it's not doing the Republican Party any good whatsoever. Now, there are those of the people that live here in the Republican Party in this area that are really upset at me for criticizing what's going on in the Republican Party. Well, if you think for 5 seconds that I'm going to back off criticizing a certain group or a certain story because it might offend somebody, That just ain't going to happen there, Buckwheat, because I'm going to tell it like it is. The Republican Party is fractured right now, and they need a whole bunch of duct tape to put it back together. And they'd better get their act together in Cleveland at the Republican convention. If they go back there with the sole intent and purpose, if Donald Trump has the delegate votes, and he might, if they go back there with the sole intent and purpose of pulling the rug out from underneath him and completely fracturing and destroying any cohesiveness in the party at that convention, you can kiss the fall election bye-bye. And they brought it on themselves. Calls are welcome, 436-22. I'm not saying that I'm an advocate. There again, I could hear somebody in the background saying, oh, you just love Donald Trump. I never said that. I never have said I love Donald Trump. I like a lot of his pugnacious attitude. I like a lot of his stances that we've got to be much tougher. But I have not really come out and said, I'm for Donald Trump. You haven't heard me say that. But I will say that if he is the front runner, there better be a whole bunch of Indians standing behind him as he takes the walk out of the teepee to take over the head tomahawk. Or they've seen a defeat in November. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, don't weaken on me. I love hearing from you. Give me a call, please. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie. Speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stand, stimulating root growth and microbial activity, and builds soil structure, and uses less water. All of that for better crops and more money back to you. Hey, Penetron treated crops have better roots and they have better crop performance with Penetron. That's it, plain and simple. Increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. Get the original, not the cheap imitations. You contact your crop advisor today to obtain Penetron soil conditioner. There you go. Come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. Also, want to remind you real quick, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Oh, my. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Perfect timing. Thank you, Wheels. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning again.
Yes, sir, again.
I just heard just a little while ago on the news that Kasich was saying, hey, if you think I'm going to just not urge people to vote for me, you're wrong. So there's a fracture right there.
Oh, absolutely. You know, this complicity, if you will, of saying, okay, now behind a closed door, Keith Cottom, I want you to go politic here. I won't politic over there. I'll politic over here. You win the delegate votes over there, and I'll win them over here. And boy, we're going to show that Trump campaign. It ain't going to work, Keith.
No. And Kasich wants to be president.
Oh, yeah.
Just as bad as Cruz does.
But now let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question.
Cruz will do anything. I mean anything. And he's a really, really intelligent person.
Oh, yeah.
Had a lot of experience in the loop, so he's a long ways from not being part of the group.
You know, here's the deal, though, Keith. Keith, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Who actually is the only person that has a bona fide opportunity possibly to beat Trump? Who is it? Well, come on, it's obvious.
Those who are running now?
No. Yeah, right. Who is it?
I don't think there's anybody.
No, come on. Really? Well, look at Ted Cruz. If Ted Cruz should be upset at anybody, and really wanting a certain person to get out of the race because they're raining on his parade, it's Ted Cruz should be upset at John Kasich, should he not?
I would think so.
Well, I mean, that's obvious. I mean,
you take like the election today, or the primary in Philadelphia, or anyway, it's in Pennsylvania, that he wants to get all of the votes he can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both of them do. And there again, we're dividing the party again and again and again.
There you go, Keith. You got it, man. You're spot on. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. God bless you, man. Thanks.
You bet.
Thank you. You know, if I were Ted Cruz, I'd sit there and I'd go, wait a minute, here's this John Kasich. He's getting this press. He's getting this media interview. He's getting this. He's getting that. He's just kind of a little thorn back there. There is no way, like a snowball in the oven, ain't going to last long, that John Kasich has a prayer to get the delegate votes. That mathematically can't happen. The only thing that Kasich can be is a spoiled little brat at the convention. That's what he's hoping for. Oh, yeah, I'm going to sit back here, and I'm going to take the wheels off their toys, and I'm going to show them. They should have picked me instead of these other guys. That's the attitude that he portrays, too. I mean, and besides that, Trump was right when he said Kasich is a sloppy eater. Good heavens, to eat in front of national and international TV cameras and stuffing it in your mouth, whether it's one pancake in one bite or all that spaghetti hanging off the fork, ooh, that didn't look real good. I don't like John Kasich. I don't like him at all because I think he's a spoiled little brat. He kind of walks with that hunch in his shoulders like, oh, doggone them, they took another thing away from me. I'm going to get my football and go home. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Hats off to Simplicity Women's Seminar and Expo. Going to be this Thursday, the 28th from, is that right? No, wait a minute. Stop. Hold on just a second. I got to check my book here for a minute. Yeah, this Thursday. My goodness sakes, what am I doing? Anyway, I want to remind you it's going to be this Thursday. I had down Tuesday all of a sudden on this one sheet, and that's wrong. Hats off to Simplicity. I'll start off so Kay doesn't give me a call. Women's Seminar and Expo this Thursday, the 28th, from 9:30 to 3:30 at the Best Western Inn in Burley. Lunch served at 11:30 to 1:30. And, oh, man, they're going to have all kinds of neat vendors and booths there and great speakers. Ladies, don't miss this. Hats off to Simplicity, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be an excellent event. You be there. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, Donald Trump's wife, Melania, is 46 today. What? Wait a minute. 46? Yeah. She is 23 years younger than the Donald. Just thought I'd pass that along to you. I want to tell you a story here in just a minute. I want your opinion on refugee children and what we're spending on refugee children in just a minute. Stand by, but I got to get a weather forecast in here, and then I want some more of your calls. The weather this hour is brought to you by Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 336 South, 450 West of Paul. Number to call, 431-8733. And if you want I love popping the peas. If you want your trees properly pruned, and that'll help better growth, etc., you better give him a call. They are excellent people, Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And if you need a sprinkler system installed or repaired, they're the people to get the job done. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 431-8733. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your Tuesday weather forecast for the 26th of April. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds will continue out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 58 tonight, low of 38. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, but the winds are going to be dying down. Looks like a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40. Mostly cloudy and 62 for Thursday, and by Friday, looks like partly cloudy and 63. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 40. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Well done, Gina. Always Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Call them today, 431-8733. We are spending, here we are, $19 trillion in debt. My calculator, I don't even think can handle all those zeros. We're $19 trillion in debt, and we're spending more of our tax money on refugee children coming here and living here and providing services to them than we do our own American poor children. That's insane. Now, I know some of you in the audience that are of a liberal bent are going, oh, well, yeah, but it's the right thing to do. No, it's not. Why are we bringing in others and creating an environment of we'll pay for everything when we're not taking care of our own? And Obama wants to bring in tens of thousands more. And my simple question to you is, how in the world can we afford to keep going and going like the ever-ready bunny and dipping into the taxpayers' pockets and watching that national deficit go up 19 trillion, 20 trillion, 21 trillion? Oh, just keep spending. We have got to reach a point of saying no. We have to build ourselves up internally first, and then start looking for providing handouts to many, many others coming in here, many of which I don't think should come here. I'm going to be talking to Frosty about this next hour. I think it's time to absolutely close the doors and have minimum immigration coming into our shores until we can get our finances, until we can get our borders fixed up and locked up and know exactly who is here and what they want here. Your thoughts? Oh, I know some people out there going, oh, you can't do that. Why? You call yourself a Christian. Yeah, I do. But sooner or later, you've got to take care of your own people first. And now, it's the later. We have to. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a jingle. I'd love to hear from you on that subject. And then also, do you feel that felons, maybe murderers, bank robbers, whatever bad guys, should all of a sudden be allowed to vote if their sentences have been commuted, whether it's by Obama or whatever, and they're out on the streets? They're felons. Well, Governor Terry McAuliffe of Virginia, oh yeah, you remember Terry McAuliffe of DNC fame? Yeah. Real liberal lefty. Well, Governor Terry McAuliffe of Virginia has restored voting rights to felons in the state of Virginia. You know, your run-of-the-mill murderers, axe murderers, bank robbers. Oh, well, they paid their debt to society, so we're going to change the rules and we're going to let them have voting rights. What do you think about that? Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
I think it's just a deal to make sure Hillary gets an election.
Well, how dare you think that move by Terry McAuliffe was in any way directed to help benefit the Democratic Party? How can you say something like that?
The timing.
Oh, gee.
I mean, it's I mean, you got to be blind not to see this. Even Ray Charles can see what's going on.
Yeah, him and Stevie Wonder are walking down leading the parade. I'm telling you, you got to be able to see this. And you know what he did? You know what he did, Doug? He did it when the Virginia legislature was off. They weren't in session, and he slipped this thing through.
Well, he had a great teacher, Mr. Obama.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
I've used that word ain't 3 times this morning in a slang reference, and for those out in the audience, I'm not saying it as an everyday occurrence word. I'm just saying it as a slang reference. Yeah, ain't that the truth? So don't get mad at me. Okay, go ahead.
Well, it gets their attention when you get off script just a little bit.
But you know, script. Yeah, I wished I had one. Yeah. You know, but I'm so incensed by this. Buying votes. They are literally buying votes, and I don't know, maybe you feel that, oh, well, they've paid their restitution to society, and they're let out. Now we can give them and restore them all their rights. You know, sooner or later, I'll bet you, Doug, I will bet you a free steak dinner that sooner or later somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, along with their voting rights, yeah, they can own guns too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do believe in giving someone a second chance, but they got to prove they earned a second chance.
Oh, my goodness.
You don't just one swipe of the paintbrush and give them all a second chance.
I am not ready in the nature of crime today and what's going on to just all of a sudden open up the prison doors and say, you know what, Bernie, you really have been a good guy. You only got in one fist fight in the mess hall once a couple of years ago. We're going to, even though you kind of bludgeoned to death a couple of people with a Hillary Bradsby baseball bat, we're going to let you vote. What?
I know it. Well, like Obama, pardoned all those drug dealers and stuff, and that one in Texas killed a woman that was pardoned on him. So, I mean, and they don't care. And that was hidden in the news. Nobody heard about that.
I looked at the news last night. I was taking notes. I take notes. I listen to all the different news channels and pick up on what they're saying or not saying. And, Doug, really, the insanity, that's the best way to lump it together as to what's going on in the news right now in this country, this United States. I think back when I was in high school, in college, and when I came out here in 1969. Oh, how things have changed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I always say, we've got the best government money can buy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what, thank you. I appreciate your call always. You've got a good attitude, and you got your head screwed on straight. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Have mercy on it.
No, that is the truth. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen.
Are you folks aware that food companies, famous name food brand companies, are making everything a little bit smaller? Yeah, they're kind of going along with Mama Obama. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to make Oreo cookies really thinner and less filling, and we're going to make our burgers smaller. Oh, well, we're not going to charge any less. Oh, good heavens, no. But we're going to make them a lot smaller. That's exactly what's happening. Downsizing in the food industry. And I was reading this story in USA Today yesterday, and the headline was, why food companies are telling us to eat less. And they're showing how they're really making everything smaller. But are we getting cheaper prices? I don't think so. Caller, good morning. Quickly, I got about 2 minutes before I got a commercial break. Go ahead.
Okay, Zeb, you brought up a touchy subject about the people being dumped here in this country. Every time they have another child, they're eligible for $1,500. So that's the reason why you and I are driving 13-year-old cars, and they're driving brand-new vehicles.
How did you know that my pickup was 13 years old? You got a great memory.
I know, because my Explorer is 13 years old, my Ranger is 12 years old. And I hesitate to go out and buy a new car for that kind of a high payment.
I wonder if vehicles...
On welfare and getting all these freebies and keep having all these kids at $1,500 a pop.
Yep.
How much longer do you think it's going to be before you and I go bankrupt?
You know, Tony, what you're just saying is so frustrating to me. I'm supposed to have compassion over somebody else that's loading up on America's freebies, and yet my wife and I are struggling to see how we're going to get through retirement, just the same as you and Mary. It's frustrating, it's angering, and I'm not happy.
I'm out of compassion, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I am too. Hey, Tony, I got to do a commercial break. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, we got to remind everybody about our dear friends and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness sake, 7 locations serving you, and many of the tires are on sale right now, like the Open Country HT for your pickups and SUVs. Ho, ho, ho! All-season design, superior handling. You're going to love this tire. And, of course, all the custom wheels. They've got a great display of custom wheels, dress up that four-wheeled wonder, and very convenient credit terms too. So check it out today at all 7 locations. Along with the best in brake service, the absolute best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. They got batteries for every need. Service is the key. They take care of you. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, and Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy, my buddy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you for all your calls. Thank you for your opinions. And we're going to get ready to go to CBS News in just a couple of minutes. And Wheels has got this good word, and then we'll go to the news. I'll see you back in about 6. Here we go, hour number 2. Thank you, Wheels. Appreciate it, buddy. And right now, Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services. Call for a dumpster. Call for a dumpster. That's right. They've got dumpsters in various sizes. You know what? You wouldn't believe this office. We went into a pitch and throw mode yesterday, cleaning things out. Oh, man, do we wish we would have had a dumpster. I needed to call Western Waste and get that taken care of. I still have got to do that. You can do it, too. They've got dumpsters in various sizes, 734-6969. They'll bring them out. You fill them up. They'll come get them. Always at your disposal. These folks are the best. I've been on their route service for years. Oh, man, they are reliable. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Couple of program notes. Don't forget, on Thursdays at 9:12, we have the Urgent Care Medical Report, and, of course, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care of Twin Falls, serving you with your medical needs. Be sure and be listening on Thursdays at 9:12 for Urgent Care, Twin Falls, Jerome, and Burley. And on Mondays at 9:16, another program note, Vicky's Country Garden provides the show called Gardening for Idiots, named after me. I'm learning, though. 185 South 600 west of Paul. All your garden needs, all your outside home decor needs, metal hanging baskets, everything at Vicky's Country Garden in Paul. You stop in or give her a call today. Before we go to my guest, and I know he's chomping on the bit, and I can't wait to get him on the program, I also want to remind everybody, too, about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Oh, yes, there to serve you. You know, Joel Heward and his staff and his family, they are so oriented towards service to families at a very, very grieving time when there's the passing of a loved one. They know what to do. They know how to help you and get everything taken care of. So please let them help you with all the arrangements with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. The number to call, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. On the phone with me right now is a very, very dear friend, and I look forward to Tuesdays to having his opinion become announced to the world on various subjects, and that's Frosty Woldridge. Good morning, Frosty. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Enjoying this beautiful blue sky day with just this time last week.
Frosty, we're losing you. Frosty, we're losing you on your cell phone. Something's wrong. It's really cutting out. I don't know if we can reestablish the call or not. Try it again, and we'll see if we can get you. We're really choppy. Yeah, it's not working. Is there another line that you could call me on? Wheels, talk to Frosty and see if he can't call back on another line or something. Boy, we just didn't have anything there. How's that?
He hung up, but I believe he's reestablishing the call.
Oh, that is a very elegant way of saying it. Thank you, Wheels.
You're welcome.
Okay, I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get him back on the air in just a moment. While we're waiting, I don't want to miss too much time for him because I got a lot of things to ask him. I want to remind you, Scott Yates is not part of the establishment. He is running for Cassia County Sheriff, a candidate for Cassia County Sheriff. And as Cassia County Sheriff, Scott Yates will be serving and representing the residents of Cassia County. Scott is a taxpayer and employer, and he wants everyone to be productive and will support those that are or want to be. You better believe it. He has a different equation for equality. Less crimes, less people in jail equals a more productive community. Don't forget, Scott Yates running for Cassia County Sheriff, and this is paid for the Yates for Cassia County Sheriff Committee, Treasurer Julie Jaime. Is he back on the air? I believe he's calling in right now, so stand by. I'll do one more quick commercial, and we'll see if this is better for my dear friend Frosty Woldridge, so stand by. And don't forget Shirley Halford Hubbard running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. This lady was born in Oakley and moved to Burley, and she just loves this area, and she wants younger people to get involved in politics, younger people to get involved in the leadership of our county, and she's really trying to promote them and also the greatness in Cassia County. And she says we need to preserve agriculture and make sure it prospers in each community in Cassia County. Don't forget, if you want fair and equal representation for all of Cassia County, vote for Shirley Halford Hubbard for District 3 County Commissioner, paid for by the Halford Hubbard for Cassia County Commissioner, Lois Reinhardt, Treasurer. Let's try it again. Frosty, good morning. How are you?
I'm putting him through, sir.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Frosty. How are you, my dear friend?
Try again, sir.
Frosty, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. Is this clear now?
Oh, my goodness, that's so much better.
We had a decent connection.
So much better, Frosty. I appreciate it. I want to get right to things because we've lost a couple of minutes. There was a report this morning that was on Fox News, and I was listening to these people talk about it, and I just got angrier and angrier. Here we are, $19 trillion in debt, and it's growing every day because of an absolutely insane government on spending. And we are spending more on refugee children coming into this country than we are on our own American citizens' children. What are your thoughts on that?
And that is going to continue because the American people are not raising their voices. They're not calling their senators. They're not calling their House reps. And as you all know, this man named Barack Obama is absolutely hates this country. He is not leading it, and his legacy, as he said in his book, when the political winds turn ugly, I will stand with the Muslims. Well, guess what? He's the man who's bringing all of these, not only the Muslims, but he's bringing all of these third world immigrants into this country. And as a matter of fact, I was able to get a hold, and I wish you could get an interview with a lady named, her name is Sylvia Thompson, and I'm going to write a piece, and it'll be on newswithviews.com, an interview on her. But this lady is a black lady, and she's brilliant. And she says, and I'm just quoting here, to the many gullible souls out there who truly think that Barack Obama is legacy building in his all-out assault on America, I implore you to bow out of the conversation because you are not seeing clearly. And she goes on to just literally say everything that Barack Obama does is calculated to destroy America, which he despises. This man no more cares about legacy than he fears being properly prosecuted by the white political leaders whose responsibility is to remove him from office. And she goes down and just literally says, we are creating conflict within our own country because Barack Obama will not secure the borders. He will not secure and enforce the immigration laws, and simply he's flooding the country with the third world. And that's what's happening. And until and unless the American people bring this issue to the forefront by literally screaming at the top of their lungs at radio shows, in the newspapers, and calling into CNN and certainly Fox and Meet the Press and Face the Nation, this invasion of our country will continue. I mean, notice it hasn't stopped since you and I have been talking for the last almost 15 years now.
You know, Frosty, every single thing that you've said on illegal immigration and immigration per se coming into this country has absolutely panned out. Yesterday, everything you and I have talked about became poignantly clear to me again as I picked up the USA Today, and on the front page of yesterday's newspaper was a great big headline that said, quote, Austrian voters send message of anti-immigration, a sharp rebuke to establishment parties. What they said in Austria is exactly what the American citizens need to tell Washington, D.C. Do you agree with me?
I certainly agree with you, and I'm pretty much in touch with Austria. They've actually stopped any and all mosque building, and no Quran can be printed or imported into Austria in Arabic. And of course, Switzerland now has stopped all minaret buildings. You're starting to see a backlash, and in Germany this summer, I predict this, I project this. You're going to see racial unrest, religious unrest, and the Germans are going to start rioting in the streets and going after Muslims. That's what you're going to see this summer in Germany, and because they're fed up. And so, Austria is the first to start moving, but it's going to start moving stronger and stronger because Muslims are simply degrading all of Europe right now. And, of course, every country they immigrate to, they simply degrade that country. And I want to make this very clear. All of these Muslims in this country, 91% of them are on welfare. In other words, they're living off your back, off your work, off of your sweat of your brow, whether you work 40, 50, or 60 hours a week. They are absolutely using your tax dollars to live their lives in our country, your country, and they're not going to change because it's about conquest. It's not about assimilation. It's not about becoming a part of this country. No Muslim can become a part of any Western country because it's diametrically opposed. That religion is diametrically opposed to personal freedoms, freedom of speech, women's rights, and all that goes with that. That is the reality that we're facing.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a comment. Caller, quickly. I'm short on time in this segment. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, if you want to find out what our country is going to turn into, you need to listen to the last hour of Alex Jones' show yesterday. It was from his reporter in England, and it will let you know exactly what's going on in England and in Europe. I sent you a link to it, Zeb.
All right, I appreciate it, my friend. Frosty, respond to that, please.
I think was that the guy named Watson?
I believe so.
I heard him speak, and he is literally telling exactly what's happening to Europe, certainly the UK, but all of Sweden, all of Norway, all of Holland, all of Germany, Austria, right on down the line. I mean, these Muslims don't mess around. They come in and they infiltrate and they move to every juncture where they can gain more power. They're just like a virus. First they get into you might get into the one part of your body, then they move into the organs, then they literally invade everything. And this is serious stuff. And we, as I've said in all of my columns, we need a total, immediate shutdown of all immigration coming into America. And you all know my Facebook page, Frosty Wooldridge, my Facebook page. You also know about NumbersUSA.org. You also know about CAPSWeb.org. You have got to join these organizations to empower yourself collectively, because if not, I guarantee you, we are literally going to see another 100 million immigrants into this country within 30 years. But just in 10 years, we're going to have 35 million more. I mean, just 10 years from now, by 2026, I'm going to still be around talking, and it's another 35 million third world immigrants. You have to understand, this is not going to work for anybody.
The thing that frustrates me so bad is that the incompetency of government, whether it's senators or congressmen or right to the very top with Obama, there is no thinking or welfare system thinking for the United States folks that are paying the bills. It's all open the floodgates. We, the taxpayers of America, we, the taxpayers, are going to have to foot the bill while those that are in office just sit back and watch the decline of America.
Well, and here's what Sylvia Thompson says. This is a black lady speaking. She says, Donald Trump's entry onto the political scene to oppose the scheme is a saving grace for our nation. These are but a few instances of behavior that display the loathsome character of Barack Hussein Obama. And Obama is allowed to roam freely through the American landscape, poisoning and polluting as he goes, sure in the realization that no one will stop him because he is black. I mean, that's exactly what's going on. The American people and all of these head honchos up in Washington, and let's face it, this guy should have been impeached. If he was white, he would have been impeached. And instead, all of this racial tiptoeing is allowing this man to usurp the U.S. Constitution, take the law into his own hands, and he's getting away with it. That's why we need to understand the final game here is to destroy the culture, the ethos, the language, and our way of life. And guess what? He's got about 8 more months to do it, and he is extremely successful.
You know, let me ask you, what's the culture like in the greater Denver area, back where you live? Is it conservative? Is it liberal? Is it a strong mix of the two? Are people upset at the way things are going or not going for the United States and a gimme program for the rest of the world? What really is the basic concept of what's happening in your state?
Well, in the state of Colorado, and I've lived in Colorado for 43 years, and it's been my whole life, essentially, my adult life. And Colorado changed from a red state, conservative Republican state, and because of the mass of people on the East Coast that are just crammed, jammed, and crushed, and then on the West Coast, we have jumped from 1.5 million when I was just a kid here to now over 5.1 million. And, of course, all of those people who fled the East Coast and the West Coast brought their very liberal backgrounds with them. And so we are quite a mix right now. We've got one Democratic senator and one Republican senator, but we just had 2 Democratic senators, but one was so bad, Mark Udall, that even the liberals voted against him. We have kind of a half-half in the House of Representatives, and so it's a mixed bag. We've got a Democratic, obviously a Democratic governor. The biggest mayor is a Democrat, and it literally, we're a sanctuary state. We are a sanctuary state for illegal aliens here in Colorado, and that hasn't changed. And, of course, it's costing us. It's costing us in jobs. It's costing us in our destroyed schools. We have 172 different languages in Denver public schools.
Oh, my.
So you can see this onslaught, this invasion by either legal or illegal immigration is literally tearing apart the fabric here in Colorado. But I know it's doing the same thing in Idaho and across the entire United States.
Absolutely. We have a caller with another quick question. Go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Yes, Frosty. Twin Falls, the Magic Valley, is one of the food processing capitals of the world. And I've read an article here. Terrorism is a real threat to U.S. agriculture. Not only are we full-blown ag down here, but we're also full-blown food processing. And we're importing refugees into this entire Magic Valley area at an alarming rate. And, we just never know for sure. And one more point, and I'll hang up. For us to settle 300 refugees it costs the local economy $4,588,000. Now you say, how can that be? Well, when you break it all down, it's all right there in black and white. But you see, we're just literally importing our own death, and I'll hang up.
You know, Frosty, respond to that if you would, please.
You know, the caller, thank you. We are importing our own death. That is exact. Most Americans are clueless right now, just like Sylvia Thompson talked about in her piece, which you'll see on newswithviews.com probably Thursday or Friday. There is no way to survive third world culture, third world lack of education, third world lack of intellectual horsepower, third world lack of skills. And so the more we import into this country, the more we continue to degrade. And as I've said, and I said this 10 years ago on your show, you at some point in Idaho, you get enough third world refugees, and there's no way to save yourselves, because all you're going to be doing is providing free housing, which you pay for, free food, which you pay for, free education, which you pay for, but none of it works. The slums, the crime, the sexual deviation, certainly of Muslims, will absolutely degrade everything in Idaho, and that's why you need to get out and start demonstrating in front of the senators' offices. You need to vote people who are going to stand up for America rather than literally have this thing continue. Otherwise, again, you're going to see, as that man just said, we are importing death to ourselves.
I've got time for one quick call. I've only got 3 minutes left. Caller, make it short. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'd like Frosty to comment about the Armenian genocide by the Ottoman Empire, which, of course, in our paper they failed to mention that was Muslims that genocide of the Armenians. There was a big article in the paper about this. It was the 100th anniversary on the 24th about the genocide by Muslims in Armenia, and the Christians in Armenia. They had a gathering here in Twin Falls over the weekend, and I'd like him to comment about that because that's coming here.
Okay, well, thank you very much, caller, and I've only got a couple of minutes left. Frosty, real quick, please.
Yeah, and there's no question. The Armenian genocide was absolutely run by the Muslims. Again, you have to understand, Muslims are driven by the Quran, and the final prime directive of the Quran is to convert or kill all non-believers. We are all going to be in the gun sights of Muslims here in the 21st century in America, whether it's 9/11 or whether it's Fort Hood or whether it's the Boston Marathon or whether it's San Bernardino. Brussels, Belgium, and Paris, France are coming to America. It's already here. And if we keep importing all of these Muslims, we're going to see more chaos, more terror, and more devastation of our country.
You know, I wished I had more time, and thank you for your patience on calling back. Evidently, there was something wrong with that phone line. God bless you, my dear friend in Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woolridge, and I will be in touch with you on the phone, hopefully after the program today. Thanks, Frosty. Take care.
Okay, and we'll be talking. God bless.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Frosty Woolridge in Golden, Colorado. Dear, dear friend. Hey, don't forget, ladies, I'm talking to you. The Hats Off to Simplicity Women's Seminar and Expo going to be held this Thursday from 9:30 to 3:30 at the Best Western Inn in Burley. Lunch will be served at 11:30 to 1:30. Oh, my goodness. They're going to have all kinds of great booth displays and all kinds of great vendors, and they're going to have great speakers. Ladies, you don't want to miss this on Thursday. The Hats Off to Simplicity Women's Seminar and Expo at the Best Western Burley Inn, sponsored by Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce and many others. Thank you very much. And ladies, you be sure and be in attendance. Don't forget, too, Mother's Day is right around the corner, coming up on May 8th. And, of course, I want to remind you about a great place to eat. Deanne and I were over there not too long ago with Kiltman and his wife, Lori. And that's, of course, the Drift Inn at 540 845 F Street in Rupert. Number to call for Mother's Day reservations, 436-1300. Oh, my goodness, great items on the menu. Rib steak, prime rib, I should say, finger steaks, butterfly shrimp, grilled salmon, chicken cordon bleu, among many others. Call for Mother's Day reservations at the Drift Inn in Rupert. Also want to acknowledge our dear friend Colonel Dale and the crew at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. They've got all the unique gifts to give Mom, along with the great books, all the precious moments, and other figurines to add to her collection, music, cards, all of it at the Book Plaza. One-stop shopping at 222 West 11th Street in Burley, 678-2505. In just a moment, we're going to talk to some firefighters, and my heart leans towards firefighters because my son Jake is with the Boise Fire Department, and always have kind of a soft spot in my heart for having these people on the air, and I look forward to visiting with them. The Rock Creek Fire Department will be with us in just a moment. Don't forget Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Man alive, they've got a great selection of four-wheelers, and right now they've got 0% financing on Suzuki. You better go in there and check it out. All the watercraft for this spring and summer. My goodness, the accessories and the great service on all your vehicles, your four-wheelers, and, of course, your dirt bikes, etc. All of this and more at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. I got to turn some microphones on here and say good morning to members of the Rock Creek Fire Department, and I know one of them, and that man is also the mayor of Murtaugh, Idaho, Dee Hunsaker. Good morning, Dee. How are you today?
Great, Zev. How are you?
Good to have you here. You know the drill. Hold the microphone up fairly close to your mouth. And then also with him is from Kimberly, Jason Freeman, and I believe you're the captain, correct?
I am a captain.
All right. Now, you have that captain's attitude like, I am in control, and Dee does what I tell him, right?
Oh, Dee's my boss, actually.
Oh, gee. Okay, well, we'll be kinder. Let's start things off with the mayor of Murtaugh, first of all. You've been on this program before, talking about Rock Creek Rural Fire Protection. And I got to tell you this right up front, guys. I am very, very high on what you do. I have seen you and the rest of your crews in action. Unfortunately, at my neighbor's just down the road here a couple of months ago. And I'm very, very impressed with the Rock Creek Fire Department. Dee, you don't have to take a back seat to anybody.
Well, thanks, Zeb. The unfortunate thing is people don't need us till they need us. And we are no different than you when it comes to this levy. Our taxes are going to increase just like everybody else's.
Okay.
But we understand that there is a huge need for people like us.
Right. Now, what this deal is, and I'll go to Jason on this, and I should back up just a little bit. You are asking on behalf of the Rock Creek Fire Department for a levy for increased funds. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and why? What's the reason?
What we're trying to do is to meet the needs of our community, especially through the last few years. What we've seen is just unprecedented growth.
Now, when you say growth, let me interrupt you. People coming into this area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and mostly residential. And that's part of the problem is that our tax base comes from those property values.
Right.
And we're all a bedroom community.
Right.
And almost all of that income comes from residential tax base.
Right.
So what we're seeing is with the advent of places like Chobani and Cliff Bar coming in, we're seeing a huge influx in residents coming in. But
in a rural area.
Correct. And we're not seeing that business revenue. Well, I can't say unfortunately, but along with that influx of population, we're also seeing an increased demand for service.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're asking for the levy increase.
And now when you talk about a levy increase, let's get right down to the bottom line. You need how much money? Is there a certain amount?
Well, currently the rate is 0.0015.
Okay.
Okay. So we're asking to increase that to 0.002.
Which amounts to how much per household in the Rock Creek area?
Well, it varies, so that's a difficult question to answer.
Okay.
But I can tell you it's for the average homeowner in our district based on about $150,000 property value, it's about $5 a month, 17 cents a day.
$5 a month.
Correct.
Okay, now for $5 a month, I'm not going to argue. I'm absolutely willing to go with that $5 a month because there again, I have seen the service. I've seen the people involved. I've seen the caring. I've seen what you do firsthand. Boy, I'll tell you what, that's awful economical as far as I'm concerned.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm serious. I'm really high on your fire department. Dee, tell us a little bit about what is it like to be a member of the Rock Creek Rural Fire Department? I mean, are you on call 24/7? What happens here?
Well, that's exactly right. I am on call 24/7, same as the rest of them. We do have 4 full-time guys in Kimberly right now that run from 8 to 5.
Okay.
5 days a week.
Okay.
The rest of the time, we're all volunteers.
So the volunteers, okay, let's set the scenario here a little bit. The siren or the alert goes off that there's a fire. What happens then, Jason? I mean, how do you pinpoint where it is? How do you get the people on the trucks? What happens here?
All that information comes from our dispatch center, CERCOM. So they'll give us a location, they'll give us the nature of the emergency, and then for our volunteer personnel, they have to leave their homes after hours, get to the station, get in their gear, get in the truck, and go, which obviously constitutes a large portion of time. What we're seeing now is during staffed hours, our response time is about half as long. So district-wide, during staffed hours, our response time averages anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes.
Let me ask a couple of obviously naive questions because I don't understand a lot of this. But if there is a fire and the trucks, per se, leave the station to go to the fire, is there also the fact that some of the volunteers have the radios and the accessibility of learning where it is, and instead of going all the way to the station, they go with their own personal vehicles?
Yeah, generally our policy is that if the fire is between their residence and the station, they can go directly to the fire. But we'd like them to come to the station first.
I see. How big an area does the Rock Creek Rural Fire Department cover, Dee? I mean, what are we talking about as far as land area?
We go all the way from Milner Dam to where Cliff Bar is on 3300 East.
Okay.
All the way to the ski resort, back to the canyon.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of land to cover.
Yeah, it's about 212 square miles.
And what happens is all of this on computers now, and it pinpoints the exact address, or how do you get the exact address of where that fire is?
Yes, when dispatches us to a call, they give us an address, and it comes right through off of the 911 dispatch.
I see. And then, like you're here in Murtaugh, if the fire is over in, let's say, south of Kimberly, what do you do, Dee, personally?
Well, I'll call in and ask them guys what truck they need from Murtaugh.
Oh, okay.
And if they tell me they need water, I'll take a tanker.
Okay.
If not, I'll take a structure truck and head that way.
Okay, so you jump out of bed at maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, how does he go about getting the call, Jason? How does Dee and the other volunteers, how do they get their separate calls? Is it like a beeper that goes off or whatever?
That's correct. Yes, our radios are page capable, so CERCOM will send out the call and our radios will tone.
Okay, so like Dee, you're laying in bed sleeping and sawing logs and just absolutely having a wonderful dream about being a millionaire like Donald Trump, and the beeper goes off. What do you do?
Well, out of bed, listen to the radio, find out the nature of the call,
okay,
where it's at, and what's involved.
Okay.
And then, if it's in Kimberly, I listen to see what truck they take, and then ask them what additional resources they need.
Now, Jason, all of this in a span of what? I know it depends on distances, but what is your ideal goal of trying to get a crew to a fire?
Our ultimate goal with the levy increase, I assume that's what you're asking me, is that we want to be able to man 2 stations here in the district 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Now, that's going to take time. So initially, if it passes, we'd like to first start with Kimberly. So we'll be a 24-hour service running out of Kimberly. And then this other station over here on...
Is that brand new building by the canal south of Kimberly right there? I forget the intersection coordinates, but it's by the old Rock Creek Metalcraft. Is that correct?
38 and 32.
Yeah. That's what, a 3-bay building out there, and you've got some trucks ready to go right there, right?
That's correct. Like I said, over time, probably within the next 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years, we'd like to have that station manned as well.
Okay, so you've got Kimberly that can go perhaps in the greater circumference of Kimberly and south and also east. And you've got Kimberly and, I said that already, Hanson. What do they have for coverage over there?
Hanson has a QRU vehicle, and that's all we have there now.
Okay, and then we have one here in Murtaugh and then the one south of Hanson.
Correct.
Okay, so somebody knows exactly when a fire is on their pager, where to go and which ones need to be called, correct?
Correct.
Man, how many people do you have as volunteers?
Right now we have 22. Of those 22, though, only about half are active through no fault of their own. They have jobs as well. So a lot of them, a couple of them actually also work for 24-hour agencies like Magic Valley Paramedics, or we have one that works for Jerome Fire Department. So.
I see. I've got to do a commercial here, and then I want to come back and I want to talk about the training just for a few seconds. Cameron Siemens Insurance, located right over there on Highway 24 in Rupert. Now, these are really good professional people, accessible and devoted to taking care of all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. You want to make sure you're covered, and they can take care of that job for you. Just give them a call, make an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert, serving you, the professionals in insurance. What about the training, Dee? I mean, did you have to go through comparable or similar training as to what my son went through to be a full-time fireman?
Absolutely. Everybody has to take a Firefighter 101 class in order to be able to enter a building and man up and fight a fire.
Okay. Hey, what about you, Jason? Now, you're full-time, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm really proud of my son, Jake. I mean, here he went through college, graduated from college, was going to be involved in agriculture with a great big national chemical company, called me up one day and said, Dad, I'm going to quit and become a fireman. And he's done very well. He's one of the top ones in the Boise Fire Department right now, and he loves his job. But boy, I'll tell you what, from a scrawny kid that Dee knew as a little one, that was basically about 5'7" and 120 pounds with rocks in his pockets, he's now 6'1" and 230, and it's all solid. That fire business is tough.
It is.
Tell us a little bit about the training.
Well, like as Dee was saying, we're leaning more towards becoming a state certified firefighters within our district. So most of the full-time guys now are Firefighter 2 certified at a minimum. Some of us have gone beyond that so that we can become certified in driving operating
What does the certification process mean? I mean, what does that mean to be certified? Pardon my interruption.
Oh, that's okay. Well, there's a certain amount of classroom time, and then there's a state test, a written test, and a practical test as well.
Okay, and then after you're certified, you're talking about on a per individual basis or as a fire department?
Per individual.
I see. Why did you choose being a firefighter? I'd like to know.
That's a great question. I remember wanting to be a firefighter since I was a little kid.
Really?
My first job when I was a teenager, I worked for the Rupert Fairgrounds, and my boss there was a volunteer firefighter, and that's really what got me interested in the first place. I didn't have the opportunity until I moved into Kimberly in 2002.
And we have a caller on the air. Can both of you hear that moo? That means we have a call. Go ahead, caller. I appreciate your call. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hope they're not going to be politically correct like a lot of fire departments around the country and hire people because they're female or they have the right color of skin.
Is that your question or your statement?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're not going to do that, are they?
I'll let them answer it. Jason, I think I'll put the pressure on you. Go ahead.
That works. To be honest, we have a certain set of standards, and if somebody meets that standard, we don't discriminate based on gender or race or anything like that. So, but that being said, there is a minimum qualification or a minimum standard that has to be met.
Let me elaborate on that just a little bit, because I think it is worthy of stating. Minimum standards. And the reason you have minimum standards, Jason, is primarily for safety of not only what's happening with the fire and the crew, but also the other firemen. You have to have minimum standards that everybody has to equate to.
Absolutely. Everybody relies on everybody else.
Back to the Rock Creek Fire Department. This extra money, I think, is absolutely necessary. Now, are they going to be voting on this May 17th? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. How is it going to be referenced to on the ballot so everybody can be aware of what it's going to say and what they should do?
I don't know the exact verbiage on it, but it will allude to the Rock Creek Fire District levy increase.
For an increase.
Correct.
I had a question. What does ISO rating mean?
The ISO is the Insurance Services Office.
Okay.
And the lower the number, the lower your insurance rates. Since we went full-time, we've actually been able to lower that rate substantially within the cities of Kimberly, Hanson, and Murtaugh.
Okay.
That's all based on distance from fire stations, distance from fire hydrants, things of that nature.
Dee, you've been involved with the fire department for how many years?
I'll be 25 next year.
25? You're an old graybeard when it comes to fighting fires.
Yeah. The other thing, Zeb, I wanted to mention is not only does this increase help the fire side, it also helps the EMS side, because the new people that we hire...
What do you mean by MS?
Emergency Medical Service.
Good. Okay.
It not only benefits the fire side, but the people we will hire will be EMT certified. So they run med calls just as well as they do fire calls.
Now, you've done this for a long time. You've been with the EMS, the medical calls and everything. As a matter of fact, Dee's made quite a few trips over here as I had various accidents in the arena. But you amaze me as to your ability, your knowledge, and your take charge of the situation. I'm very impressed with what you do.
Well, thanks, Zeb. We just, we love what we do. We absolutely love what we do. Unfortunately, it's when somebody else is in distress.
Yeah.
But we want to help the public. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve you and everybody else in our district.
Let me ask you this, Jason. Is this area of the Rock Creek Rural Fire Department district, is it different than perhaps other rural districts in the state of Idaho? Do they have a comparable fire department and service like you're trying to provide here?
Well, that's a great question, because I'm not super familiar with how other rural departments operate. This is the only district I've ever been a part of. What I can tell you is that for us in particular, we have a very dense population of residences for a rural department.
Right.
So, and that's...
What about, all of a sudden, the worst-case scenario? Somebody smells smoke in the house, they open the door, my goodness, the kitchen's ablaze. What would you want to, gentlemen, tell people to do? What should they have as far as numbers that are by the phone in great big black letters or whatever? Give us a scenario of what you would want homeowners to know about and how to respond.
Well, first of all, just get out of the structure to begin with and close the door behind you. Keep it buttoned up until we get there, and that's our best option.
So keep the house closed up?
Correct.
Okay. But what about calling you? I mean, do they just call 911?
Yes.
What did they do?
Yeah, just call 911.
Okay. And that automatically, and then try to stay halfway calm and give the coordinates. That's another thing. In a rural area, Dee, this is a question for you, because the other day I had a guy call me up and say, well, just exactly where do you live? What are the coordinates of the road next to you? And there was a blank space in my 68-year-old mind. Do you think I could remember the coordinate numbers of that street right up the road? I could not remember that. People need to have that so they know it, right?
Absolutely. We, every year, 3 or 4 or 5 times a year, we do different scenarios where we pull out just random street numbers and street signs, and we have people go find them
from
the department. Because when the call comes, we don't have time to guess.
I'm not trying to shade anything in the past, but I could imagine that with changing times and people moving in that you're unaware of, boy, how do you get that information? Where do you know to go?
It makes it really tough, especially, let me give you a couple examples. When you talk about people remaining calm.
Yeah.
We've had many a times when people have called and they have got the north and the east grids mixed up.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And so we're 10 miles from the fire.
Okay. So in other words, if I just said I'm only a mile and a half of D. Hunsaker's place, that's not going to cut the cake.
Well, it might for me because I know where you live.
But people need to have that by their telephone or at least become cognizant of what the coordinates are.
They do. The nice thing about the new system that they are just fully implementing is now when your phone dials it up, even your cell phone, they automatically get an address off of that. So when 911 dispatches us, they dispatch from right where you're talking from them.
Okay. I want to talk about equipment here in just a minute, but I got to get a weather forecast in, and I want to remind everybody the weather's brought to you this hour by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort with Lennox. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your Tuesday weather forecast for the 26th of April. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds will continue out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 58 tonight, low of 38. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, but the winds are going to be dying down. Looks like a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40. Mostly cloudy and 62 for Thursday, and by Friday, looks like partly cloudy and 63. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 40. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Excellent job, as always, with the weather forecast brought to you by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox Home Comfort Systems. They can save you money. You give them a call today at 678-0459. What about new equipment? Jason, I'm sure you guys have modernized. You don't have just a wagon pulled by 6 great big white horses. Tell us a little bit. This equipment is expensive, isn't it?
It is. Actually, we've been really fortunate over the last 5 years. We've obtained about trying to remember the exact number, but it's close to $200,000 worth of grants over the last 5 years just for equipment.
I see.
With that, we've gotten a new Class A engine. It's about 5 years old now, and we also have upgraded our ambulances as well.
Let me ask this question, and I know that I've been up to the various stations that Jake has been manning up in Boise, and boy, I mean the cleanliness and the taking care of the equipment, etc. Boy, that's primary. Every day they make sure everything's on the go. What do you do if all of a sudden you throw the doors up and there's a dead battery or something? My goodness, what's plan B?
Well, we have 4 structure engines in our district now, so we do have a reserve engine in Kimberly, so if that does happen, we can jump in the other rig and go. That being said, there's the 2 other stations we can draw from if necessary.
When the call comes in on a fire, guys, how do you or the dispatcher, how do you ascertain how big a fire, how dangerous a fire, to send what equipment? I mean, how is that discerned?
Well, we generally run on, we'll just send whatever resources are available, and we can always turn people around if we need to.
I see. And this fire department, the Rock Creek Rural Fire Department, needs more money and funding to really do better service to the entire community, correct? And it might average out to only like $5 a month more. Is that it?
That's correct.
Wow. Anything else you want to mention, Dee, about being a firefighter and an EMT? I mean, you're wearing a lot of hats over here in Murtaugh.
Well, all I want to do is tell you, Zeb, and the public how much we appreciate their support.
Okay.
They have been great and very gracious in helping us out, and we would hope that they would continue to do so. These guys, as well as myself on the department, we train very hard, day in and day out, so that if we have to save your family member or go to an accident to work on somebody to help them get to the hospital, we can do that with the utmost care.
What about new people? Are you looking for bright new faces that might want to become firefighters?
Yes, we are. I'm actually glad you brought that up. Nationwide, it's not just a local problem, but nationwide, the volunteer base has just declined dramatically. Volunteerism seems to be dying off. I can't pinpoint a reason for it, but that is happening. We've tried to get volunteer drives through a Strive program. We've advertised through city building, and the numbers just aren't there.
Mm-hmm. Well, what can you do to stimulate that? You mentioned something that I've really been cognizant of over the years. There's just not that much community involvement in a lot of things anymore. So what do you offer them? What do you tell them? I mean, what do you tell these prospective people that might want to be a volunteer?
Well, they can become part of a great organization with a bunch of great people. We're always there for each other, personally and professionally. We do pay our volunteers. Volunteer is probably kind of a misnomer, actually. They do get compensated for their time. On
the job as a firefighter?
Correct.
Okay. Any final thoughts, Dee, from you as far as this levy, which I think is absolutely a mere pittance? If anybody gripes over a $5 a month bond levy, averaging $5 a month, I think it's absolutely crazy, because the day may come when that $5 is going to seem pretty minimal.
Well, that's exactly right. And like I said, we just hope that the people out there in our community, in our district, will see the need that we got to continue to grow. Kimberly, I don't know how many homes they've got.
Oh, my goodness. Has that grown or what?
Yeah, and I'll bet they've got, I don't know, I would dare say 40 or 50 new construction homes going on right now.
Yeah.
Here in Murtaugh, we've got 4 new homes going up here in the next 2 or 3 months. I mean, the district just grows. Yeah. I think last year we was a little over 700 calls.
Wow. These are both EMT calls and fire calls.
That's correct.
Wow. What about final thoughts from you, Jason Freeman, the captain of the Rock Creek Rural Fire Department? What are your final thoughts here this morning?
I said, as a fire district, we've been tasked with the safety of the community, and that's what we're going to continue to try and accomplish. This levy is just part of that continuing effort on our part to make this community safe for everybody.
I wish you luck, and any time that you guys want to come back on this program, you've got a friend here, because I'm absolutely behind the Rock Creek Rural Fire District and Department. I saw them in action, folks, and believe me, they are the ultimate professionals, and I know, speaking on behalf of my dear friend Kiltman down the road, he just stood back and he said, Zeb, anytime you get a chance to thank him on the radio, do so. So I give you kudos.
Well, thank you.
And wish you luck.
Thanks for letting us use this platform to get that message.
Dee, thanks for coming by.
Thanks, friend.
All right, take care. Jason, thank you much. I hate to be rude. I got to do some commercials and get to the news. My lovely bride will show you out. Don't let the dog bite you on the way out the door. She's not the friendliest little pooch in the world. Thank you very much. And Jason Freeman and Dee Hunsaker, God bless. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got to get this good word in here real quick, and I want to remind you, of course, that we have many, many good people running for various political aspirations in the primaries. Cliff Katona, Twin Falls County Sheriff candidate, and he wants your vote on May 17th. Don't forget 28 years of distinguished law enforcement with the state of Idaho, Idaho State Policeman for 19 years, and he promises to be very proactive in the community and to talk to you face-to-face and address people's concerns. Don't forget to vote for Cliff Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff, and this is paid for. Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff Committee. Jim Woolley is the chairman. We, in just a few moments, are going to send this back over to Wheels. I want to remind you that we have a guest that's going to be on Dr. History with us this next hour. Gary and Bev Stone, I think, is also going to be on the program. Bev's going to be there. And we're going to have kind of a great pioneer story talking about what did the pioneers eat when they came out west. We're going to talk to Gary and Bev about that. And then at 10:32 this morning, Curtis Ellis is going to be on the program talking about more dependency on the federal government. But right now we're going to send it over to Wheels for this good word and then to CBS News. Oh, my goodness, on a Tuesday, kind of a blustery, chilly, if you will, cold Tuesday. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome back to hour number 3. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them 734-6969. Right now, Wheels is ready to play this good word, and I'll be right back. Go ahead, Wheels.
With over 40 years of dedicated community service, the Roy Prescott brings experience to real issues facing Jerome County today. Roy Prescott, the Jerome County Commissioner. Responsible leadership for a better Jerome County.
There you go. Thank you very much, Wheels. Great job over there. And I also want to remind you about the Goody Shop, 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. Oh, my goodness. They can make Mom a special goodie basket for Mother's Day, or a special Mother's Day mug filled with candy kisses and brownie treats and all kinds of goodies. Oh, you're going to love it. Mom will, too. The Goody Shop, 133 West Main in Burley. And also, happy Mother's Day wishes from Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Jeff and the rest of the crew say, Mom, happy Mother's Day. And they'd like to thank all the farmers in the area for their support in the past years. Don't forget, give Magic Valley Irrigation a call today if they can help you with your irrigation needs. Thank you, Magic Valley Irrigation and the Goody Shop. And happy Mother's Day. Right now, we're going to welcome in our guests for Dr. History. And Dr. History is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Absolutely all your lumber, all your windows, everything at Minnecasia Sales. And I am honored to have with me on the telephone the one, the only great artist and storyteller, Gary Stone. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb.
It is such a treat to have you on the program this morning. And how's your lovely wife, Bev, doing?
I'm doing just great, Zeb. I'm right here with Gary.
Oh, my goodness, I got a double threat here this morning. That sounds good. Well, you know, I wanted to have you folks...
You ask for one stone, you get 2.
There you go. Listen, God bless both of you. You both have been so involved in the history of this area. You both have Gary's paintings and Bev's writings about the Oregon Trail. I wanted to ask both of you this morning, if you were on the Oregon Trail in a wagon going through this area, what in the world did the pioneers eat, and how did they have any kind of food preservation whatsoever? Go ahead, take it away.
Well, they always had their cow along with them, and with that comes milk and cream. So they would fill a bucket up in the morning with cream, and then it would turn to butter as it jiggled along down the Oregon Trail. It might have a little dirt in it, but that's probably where they found out that sage is such a good seasoning. The other thing that was unusual is they used to eat prairie shrimp, and they would fry grasshoppers.
Oh, my.
I don't know if they made a common practice of that, but it certainly was in one of the Oregon Trail diaries.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Actually, when they got over to this side of the divide, their food supply actually increased because they were on the plains for so long and diminishing up their own supply if they couldn't get wild game.
You know,
then when they got over the divide, they suddenly found fish in the streams that were wonderful to eat. And when they got to our area, they stopped at Rock Creek for water and etc. And the streams were so full of trout, and at certain times of the year, the salmon used to run up Rock Creek. And they said that they could absolutely anything that would bear anything. They took towels, they took pans, they took aprons, anything that would hold a fish. They put it in the water and just filled them full of fish.
Oh, my goodness.
They loved the taste and the change of diet.
Okay, now, that's okay.
From here on, they had pretty good food for a while.
Okay. Now, what about...
The big thing that they had that was not necessarily food for people, but was food for their animals, which was a huge, huge thing. If you can imagine hundreds and hundreds of wagons crossing, and each one of the animals eating all the grass and the feed,
sometimes they'd have to go miles and miles off the main trail just to get their cattle fed and watered, of course. So it was a hard trip, and in the summertime and in the fall when they were about through here, it was extremely hot, and that dusty, powdery dirt, it was a hard stretch for them through here.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Conducive to food storage unless you took along long-term storage items like flour and sugar and beans and that type of thing.
Bacon.
Yeah, and there's so many sad stories about people being so hungry if they didn't do their supplies right. But when they got into the hills in this country, there were also berries and that type of thing that they could gather certain times of the year. And the ladies in the diaries talked about rolling out the dough for pies on the wagon seat as they rode along, and then making the pies when they got to camp.
You know, let me ask you this.
They had kind of a variety of food through here. The water was the biggest problem, and they had at times to make dry camp. Some people were smart, and when they had plenty of grass for the animals, they cut it and bundled it and took it along with them to feed them on the way. And others would take the water, and if they made the animals' noses wet with water, it seemed to help. They got a little bit of the water, but they didn't drink a lot, so they could get through this area. So it was a problem, but they were absolute masters at making something out of nothing. And they continued to do that during the entire trip on the trail.
All right, let me jump in here for a second and ask you a couple of questions. Number one, I'm assuming that they had water barrels on the wagons, and those water barrels, after bouncing and jostling across a dusty trail all day, that water wasn't the most sanitary, was it?
Well, I suppose anything wet would taste good. Actually, their barrels were sealed with a little pig, they called it, a quart. So their water supply to drink was probably all right. I'm not sure about the animals. I think they just had to drink out of the streams.
There was a lot of alkali in the water around here, and some of the animals became quite ill from drinking from standing water and such that had alkali in it. And if they had bacon available, when the animals got sick, they found out that if they shoved the bacon down their throat, they would regurgitate and throw out the bad stuff.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how that works. It sounds terrible to me. If they hadn't written it in the diaries, I wouldn't have given that a thought.
Well, what was...
7 stomachs and all, it gets a little complicated.
Really? What was the average day on the trail like? I mean, when they made camp at night, I'm assuming they probably had a relatively larger meal than what they had like in the morning. What basically did they try to eat on the road, on the trail?
They had beans a lot. Beans, and they would make biscuits. They got really good at mixing up the biscuits right in the top of the sack with a little water, and they put
just pour the water right in the sack and mixed it till it got to the right consistency, and then baked it.
Yeah.
Without a pan.
Yeah. They were really masters at survival in that regard. The rest of us would never survive today trying an Oregon Trail trek unless you were expert at it. But to them, that was a lifestyle. Living in the wilds of America at that time, that was more their lifestyle, just survival. But when you're hungry enough, you'll eat about anything, including the grasshoppers Gary mentioned. But coming through this area, the water was the big factor. And the dust was so bad, and there were times when they had to make dry camp, meaning no water, until the next day, and sometimes there were a couple, 3 days through here with no water, depending on the snowpack the previous year, the winter. So it varied from year to year, and sometimes the streams were so high that it took them a couple of days to get through, and other times there was very little water at all. So it varied from year to year, and each train had their own personal experience, and reading their stories in the diaries is a very eye-opening experience. I don't know how those people did it.
Let me ask you this.
They don't even mention the little wounds that they must have received. You know, every once in a while they talk about the sickness and that type of thing, and the death. But they mention broken bones not too often. They never mention scraped fingers, stepped on feet, hands caught in the tugs or the chains while they're harnessing up the animals. You know, falling off the wagon was not an unusual thing, but mostly they just walked, and walked until they were footsore and worn through their own shoes. But they were masters at that type of thing, and they could create their own shoes out of animal skin, just like the Indians did.
Well, now, I want to ask you this question.
With the Indians, they like the Indians' tough leggings and clothing, and the Indians liked the soft material that the shirts were made out of.
Right.
So they did a lot of trading in that regard.
And they
did a lot of trading for food with the Indians. The Indians showed them what plants they could eat in certain areas, and
helped them cross the rivers, like at Three Island Crossing.
And how to dry the fish.
The Indians were actually very, very helpful.
Yeah, for the most part. They only got upset when
they started shooting them.
when the buffalo, didn't have enough to eat, and the Indians became hungry. Then there was a real problem.
What about
We blame the Indians. If somebody goes across your front yard and makes a big path through your grass and kills the grass and all of that stuff, you get pretty upset, and you keep telling them, hey, you're ruining my lawn. But they don't listen, so then you start to want to take action.
Right.
And that's what happened in that case.
You mentioned...
They became pretty fearful in some years, but they feared the illnesses, the cholera and the smallpox and that type of thing far more than the Indians. So it was... the Indians provided food for them through bad areas if they could find an Indian. Sometimes the Indians weren't in the area. They were migratory, and they went where the food supply was. Pioneers were pretty much fending for themselves the entire journey. They took a lot of supplies, as much as they could carry, when they left.
Coffee, sugar, and salt, but most of the rest was along the way.
Yeah, and this part of the Oregon Trail was considered pretty much the hardest part of the journey for a lot of those diarists. They just wanted to get out of here and get through here, and this part of the state was not a place to want to stay. It was a place to get through as fast as you could.
I see.
And then get out of here and don't come back. And it wasn't until gold was discovered that Idaho became a destination, and people started coming back. So Idaho is one of the few states, if not the only one, settled from west to east instead of from east to west. So, and the food supply had a lot to do with them wanting to get through here. Incidentally, when they traveled through here, they actually did a lot of their traveling at night. They came through here in July and August primarily. And you know what long nights we have. It's light enough to travel and do things up until 10, 11 at night sometimes. And that also meant the time when it was cooler, the dust would be heavier and wouldn't be so prevalent, and they could make more time. So in the journey west across this area, a lot of them never saw much of the country because they were traveling at night just as fast as they could.
Let me kind of jump in here for a second, if I may.
Kind of scary.
Just a minute. Hold on, Bev. Just a second. I wanted to ask a question. I've only got a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to ask this question. Gary alluded to it earlier in our conversation, but when people think of the Oregon Trail or the California Trail, they think of one single entity, but that's not the truth, because there were many, many different trails where they had to branch off because of the forage for the animals. So really, the Oregon Trail could be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different trails, could it not?
Oh, yeah, and more. They had to actually spread out. When they got through this area, that dirt and dust, as we all know, if you get out in the desert, is all just becomes talcum powder. And they said it would actually blot out the sun, so therefore they had to spread out and just make new Oregon trails wherever they went. Fortunately, it was pretty flat through here. They had a few rock outcroppings and Rock Creek to cross, but we're still finding places where they crossed at Rock Creek, and Bev and I have been studying this for years and years, and we'll have friends say, hey, we had part of the trail come through our yard, and when we go over and look, by gosh, that sure as was. But you can just imagine hundreds and hundreds of wagons waiting to cross that Rock Creek. If I was the 10th wagon, I'd be figuring out a way to cross it without waiting for the guy in front of me, too. So they got real inventive. I've heard stories of them dropping the wagons with ropes down over the canyons, and I'm sure that happened a lot.
Did they use mostly oxen, or were there also horse-drawn vehicles, or were there kind of a combination of the two?
Well, I think oxen were the most dependable, but the horses and the mules turned out to be a lot faster. And it was a learning experience for everybody that was on the trail. Nobody knew what would be the best until you got there. So, yeah, it was kind of a hit-and-miss thing all the way across through here, I think. Unless they had a wagon master that had been on the trail once before. As an example, Bev and I own part of the canyon where the Oregon Trail came right up to the edge, and if they knew about it, they could go down and get water, because they had to go clear from Cassia Creek to Rock Creek, which is 40 miles. Well, by car, that's not very far, but boy, in a wagon it would be. Anyway, when they got to the edge of the canyon, if they knew that was there, they could drop down into the springs on our place, and we still have evidence of old wagon parts strung up up and down the canyon that I've just left there. But it's very, very interesting to tie all of these little stories together. Bev and I really had fun doing this.
I've only got a couple of minutes left, and I want to ask you both this question, and please keep your answers fairly short so I can get my commercial in, but I need to ask you this. The wagon itself, I mean, how much of material could they take? I mean, tools, food, etc. They had to pack really light, did they not?
Yeah, most of them started out, the big Conestoga wagons that you see depicted most of the time were used, but not that much as the old farm wagon. And they would make a makeshift top for it just to cover their goods and just take the very necessities that they had. But there again, all along the Oregon Trail, if a person is to find remote spots today, you can still go along and find out places where they dumped their things off the edge. There was just too much to carry. Bev and I have a set of dishes that was dug up at a popular spot, not by us, but by someone else. And those were left there, and I'm sure the people wanted to come back someday and pick up these beautiful dishes, because they are gorgeous, and never did make it back. So there's just examples of that all over the place. I even found a great big light that goes on a train locomotive out here in the middle of my desert, just next to the canyon rim. I still have that, and it's just interesting, the things that if you just spend a few minutes extra, you can really, really investigate a lot of that. I'm sorry to take so much of your time.
No, that's fine. Bev, I want to ask you one final question here. The ladies back in those days, holy cow, they had to be tough, weren't they?
Hey, I'll tell you what, those women were made of iron, and let me just say this. Whenever you approach a problem, even in today's modern world, you come up with your own solution, and those people were masters at it, especially the women. And they survived by being tough as iron. And whatever came up, they adapted to it. Those long skirts were a big problem, but some of them decided they could tie those skirts up and make pantaloons out of them a little bit, and make it easier to walk. The petticoats went by the wayside and turned into bandages and anything else they needed. And there was just a lot of creativity on that Oregon Trail.
I want to say thank you to... I want to say thank you to two wonderful people. It's been my honor and privilege to know them for many, many years, Bev and Gary Stone. And no one knows more about the pioneers and the Oregon Trail and traveling through this country 150 years ago more than they do. Bev and Gary, God bless you, and thank you so much for being on my program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thanks a lot, Zeb.
All right, take care. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, they have written books, Gary with his paintings, and they've got the diaries, and they've got so much history of what took place on the Oregon Trail. Like I said, no one knows more about it than they do. This program, Dr. History, brought to you by Mini-Cash Sales. Zach and the rest of the crew, oh my goodness, if you're thinking of remodeling in your house, they have all your lumber packages. They've got everything over there for you. They've got all the shingles for a brand new roof, too, metal or asphalt, and they can help you with brand new windows, too. Western Windows, save on your heating and cooling bills. They've got it all, and great people to work with at Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. You stop in or give them a call at 878-2091, bringing you Dr. History. Got to pay some bills here real quick before we send it back over to Wheels. I want to remind you, too, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy all the comfort. Call them today at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. And by the way, too, on Thursdays, we have a special segment at 10:10 in the morning on my program called Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to you by A Child's World and Ambulatory Surgery Center. At A Child's World, they've got all the bright spring clothes in there, along with all the baby furniture, everything you need for your family. I mean, they've got games and puzzles and the clothing and presents or gift wrap free. My goodness sakes, stop in and see them at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget to Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley for your outpatient surgeries, your hand, knee, and foot surgeries, colonoscopies, many, many more. Give them a call and save money. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios and come back in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Don't forget, also on Thursday at 10:30, we're going to have our Second Amendment, again, about our gun rights and how we're losing them. And our host for that program is going to be Ryan Horsley at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls with all the new firearms from all the major companies, all the ammo and accessories. Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls. Want to also say thank you to our political candidates coming up on the primary May 17th. Don't forget, Scott Yates is running for the office of Cassia County Sheriff. He is a candidate for that office, and he pledges to serve and represent the residents of all of Cassia County. Scott has a different equation for equality: less crimes, less people in jail equals a more productive community. And he believes that exceptional communities set higher goals, and Cassia County is an exceptional county. Vote for Scott Yates for Cassia County Sheriff, paid for Yates for Cassia County Sheriff Committee and the Treasurer, Julie Jaime. Right now, a guest on the program that I always enjoy having on the air because he tells it like it is, and I'd like to say good morning to Executive Director of the American Jobs Alliance and columnist for WorldNetDaily.com, Curtis Ellis. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Great, Zeb. Good morning to you.
It is always a pleasure to have you on, and I'm good. I was going to talk about 3 or 4 different topics that you've been involved in, but I had a communique that you were covering the United Nations Climate Change Conference on Earth Day, and wow, this is one of my pet peeves, climate change and the United Nations. Tell us what happened.
Well, they had a great big shindig here, a little signing ceremony. It was purely ceremonial, but you had 170 countries, heads of state and high-ranking government officials from 170 countries came down. They gave a bunch of speeches, and then they signed their name in a book that symbolizes their acceptance and signing on to this climate change agreement. Now, of course, they tried to overlook the fact that each one of these countries has to formally ratify it. For example, the United States Congress would have to vote on this. Now, that was lost in the shuffle amid all the pomp and ceremony. The truth is that President Obama has no intention of submitting the Paris Climate Change Agreement to the U.S. Congress because he knows it's a dead letter. It'll be dead on arrival. Now, while they were all making nice and huggy and doing photo ops and signing this, the Deputy Secretary General pointed out that the climate change agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations are inseparable. They're inseparably linked. That is, you can't have one without the other. It's all part and parcel of this great big scheme to make the world a wonderful, happy place. Now, without getting lost in the jargon of all the UN things, there's just they have their own language up here. I'm sitting at the UN right now. They have this thing called the Sustainable Development Goals, which all of the countries in the world have agreed to, including the United States. By the year 2030, we're going to eliminate poverty, eliminate crabgrass, and eliminate male pattern baldness as well, I guess. I don't know. But everything is going to be wonderful and hunky-dory. But one of the goals says that we will have the regular and orderly migration of people everywhere on Earth, that people will be able to move everywhere, anywhere, across borders, anytime. So let's just remember now that is now inseparable from the climate change agreement. I'm sure that makes you feel really good, Deb.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to sound really crass when I say this. I think it's time to not only shut the door, but slam the door on any and all immigration into this country, whether it's legal or whether it's illegal, until we find out where we are, what's it costing us. When I heard this morning, Curtis, that we are spending more money of our tax dollars on refugee children coming into this country than our own poor American children, I am so damn mad right now, I'm ready to close the door on everybody.
Well, I agree with you. I think it's time to take time out here. We shut the door on immigration in the 1920s, had a breather. For 40 years, we were able to assimilate the people that came in, establish a national culture, a national identity, got everybody rowing in the same direction, and it was a good thing for our country. We have had record immigration, legal and illegal. It's time to take time out. We're admitting over 1 million people a year legally. Then we don't even know how many other tens or hundreds of thousands we're admitting on these what are called non-immigrant work visas, H-1B visas. We just saw Intel ask for 14,000 foreign worker visas, and then they laid off 12,000 people. So they're trying to replace the American workforce with a foreign workforce. And today there's a report out now that the United Nations is encouraged, and the State Department is working hand in glove with the UN on this, to find alternative pathways to bring in more Syrian refugees. See, nobody wants to admit, there's all kinds of pushback on admitting Syrian refugees. So what they're saying is, well, let's call them something else.
let's have labor mobility schemes. That means H-1B visas. That means guest worker visas, and we'll give those to the Syrians. Let's have, and they said this, I'm not making this stuff up, Zeb. They said, let's have school scholarships. How about the universities start giving scholarships to Syrian refugees?
Oh, my.
Well, what about American kids that need scholarships? Hello?
I am so incensed over this issue, and you are an expert on having on the program to talk about this. But yesterday in the paper, the USA Today headline was, Austrian voters send message of anti-immigration. You know, Curtis, that tells me that Europe is just about up to the top of the bottle with water, and they've had enough. And when is the United States going to learn from other people's mistakes?
I would hope soon, but while that is happening in Europe, the establishment in Europe is doing everything to bypass the popular will. You see in the voting in country after country, the anti-immigration parties, the anti-Islamization parties are polling record numbers, bringing in more people voting for them than ever expected. So what happens is the establishment parties get together and they collude. They do a collusion where they say, well, you know what? We're going to pull, there's two of our parties, we're going to pull one of the candidates off the ballot so that everybody who disagrees with the anti-immigration people only have one place to go, and they'll all vote for the one guy. I mean, it's kind of like what Kasich and Cruz are trying to do in Indiana, saying, well, you know, we're going to divide up these things, and you know that way you get this territory, you get that, and we're going to be able to funnel all the voters into one cattle car here, you know, instead of two. It's the United States is not getting the message. The United States government, let's put it that way, when Donald Trump talks about building a wall, what he is talking about is enforcing the laws on the books. When he says, let's do a pause on Muslim immigration until we figure out what's happening, until we know we can do a security check on these people and that they're legitimate and that they mean us no harm, what he's saying is enforce the laws on the books. There are laws on the books that say you can't come into the country if you're a terrorist. There are laws on the books that say if you want to come in the country, you have to go through a process. You can't just walk across the border or swim across the border somewhere. But so you would think that that's pretty clear, right? But what immediately happens is he's called a racist, he's called a xenophobe, he's called an isolationist, he wants to cut America off from the rest of the world. Well, folks, if you want to change the law so that anybody can just walk into this country without even showing any ID, say that. Why don't you come out and say that? Don't be calling Donald Trump a racist and a xenophobe because he's saying enforce the laws that are on the books, which is all he is saying. They're being dishonest. The same way the UN is being dishonest when it says, well, if we can't resettle the refugees under the existing refugee programs and the existing refugee conventions and treaties, let's come up with other ways. Let's call them students. Let's call them they need medical attention. Let's call them mobile labor units. I mean, that's dishonest.
You know, Curtis, I fear the United Nations. I fear their motives. I fear their power takeover of this country. I fear the collusion with the leadership in this country. And I absolutely am fearing that our leaders, our senators and congressmen, are so either dumb or naive or worthless that they won't stand up for we the people. I fear the United Nations.
Well, I'll tell you, Zeb, I'll make a little confession here to you and your listeners. I used to think the United Nations was kind of a joke. You know, there's a bunch of people sit around and talk and talk and talk and accomplish nothing, accomplish little. But my eyes have been opened here by spending time up here and looking a little more closely at what happens. They are setting an agenda which all the do-gooders in Washington, in both the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment, they all sign on to this. They all tip their hat and bow and offer words of, if not open words of praise. They start following the lead that is being set by these international globalist bureaucrats at the UN here in New York and in Geneva. So where they talk about refugee resettlement and migrant mobility and the migration of workers and people around the world, and that's exactly the program that's being instituted. Paul Ryan has signed on to it. Paul Ryan has signed on to it, as well as Barack Obama. They say, America is a concept without borders. It's an idea. People should be able to move wherever they want. These are ideas that were hatched at the UN, that are promoted every day at the UN. Now you've got this climate agreement. You've got this thing about reducing carbon fuels. This place is far more effective than I ever gave it credit for in promoting ideas which are then instituted by governments around the world, including Washington, D.C.
Curtis, let me ask you this, and I don't know if you want to really highlight or pick apart a certain candidate, but I'm fair game to do that this morning because I can't stand the woman, and that's Hillary Clinton. I made a comment earlier this morning that I watched her closely last night as she was delivering a speech in Philadelphia, and it hit me. This woman is not healthy. This woman doesn't look good. The facial expression and the drawn look on her face, a very poor makeup job, and quite frankly, I think there's more to that head injury than we were led to believe. Plus, I fear her politics. What are your thoughts on Hillary Clinton?
Well, I agree with you. I think she has some serious health issues that are not being revealed. When she did reveal or offer up some information about her health, it was done by some junior internist at a hospital somewhere, totally not credible. It wasn't done by her physician, by somebody that's been taking care of her for years. Her health is questionable. Her policies are even more questionable. Here's a woman who has been, let's be fair, here's a politician, right? And she is a woman, okay, so whatever. Here's a politician, here's a woman who's been in favor of every intervention. She was all on board with the Iraq War, which other candidates out there said no, not so fast. She then doubled down, and after we saw the disaster that Iraq turned into, she learned nothing from it, said, let's go into Libya. She was pushing to go into Syria, send troops and whatever. She's learned nothing from any of her mistakes. She's a total empire builder. She wants to send American troops all over the world to fight and die for what? So we can help crazy Islamists come into power in Libya, in Syria. That's what happens when we overthrow these dictators. We end up with it's going from the frying pan into the fire. And as for her ideas for the economy, they're a pure disaster. She's in favor of this Obamacare, which has just turned into a nightmare for countless Americans who've lost their insurance, lost access to the doctors. Premiums are going to go up for worse insurance policies. She's in favor of this wage insurance scheme where Americans who used to have jobs are going to be getting a check from the government, even if they have a job, because the jobs pay so little.
We have a caller with a question for you, Curtis. Real fast, caller. I'm almost out of time. Go.
Yes, the question on Hillary Clinton, when pushing to go to war all the time in different countries, isn't there an incentive and kickback through war or materials handling and such through different companies? I'll let you go.
All right, Curtis, would you respond to the caller?
That's a good point. These defense contractors, they make huge contributions. They make money every time we get involved in one of these military adventures, and then they funnel that money back into the candidates. Then they funnel the money into the think tanks, which provide salaries to the people who then go work for people like Hillary Clinton.
One final thought, Curtis, and I've only got about 3 minutes left in this segment. But when the Oval Office doorknob hits Obama in the posterior for the last time and he walks away from the White House, I still have a sticky feeling in my heart and in my craw that we haven't seen the last or heard the last of Obama. What are your thoughts about the afterwards of the White House?
Yeah, this guy, look, Bill Clinton has shown the way. You set up a global foundation, and then you can keep prancing around the world, sucking in high-dollar contributions from all the big corporatists and the cronies, and you look like you're doing something. Obama's going to be doing the same thing, and there's talk about him getting a job at the UN, and I thoroughly expect that. Now, whether he will be Secretary General, that's questionable, because there is a statute or a precedent that the Secretary General can't come from one of the permanent members of the Security Council. There's 5 permanent members, the United States being one of them. They cannot produce or nominate a Secretary General. But, you know, Obama doesn't really follow the rules, and there's always exceptions made. I think if he reveals that he is a Muslim, then all the other countries are going to say, okay, fine, we'll make an exception in his case. I don't know. But even if he's not Secretary General, he can take a very high-profile role here. We have not seen the last of this man, I promise you that.
You know, I didn't have a lot of time left, but I do want you to answer real quick about extended unemployment benefits for the unemployed. This is another one of those dependency programs from our government. Quickly give us an overview on that, if you would.
Well, now they want to extend the unemployment benefits to the employed. They're pushing this Obama trade scheme, which is going to destroy more jobs. And now all the people pushing that are saying, well, we've got to offer more retraining, and then we have to do this thing called wage insurance. Unemployment insurance is when you don't have a job. Wage insurance is when you get a job, but the pay is so poor you can't support a family on it. They want the government now to kick in a check for that. So extended unemployment, you can be on unemployment for a couple of years, and then if you do get a job as a Walmart greeter and you used to have a better paying job, the government's going to make up the difference. So you'll be able to tell your children, work hard, go to school, and lobby Congress to make sure there's money in there to pay you when you're done.
And the American taxpayer foots the bill, correct?
That's correct. The American taxpayer foots the bill every time.
You know, I hope you come back soon, because right now my blood pressure is about 200 over 100. I really appreciate your being on the program.
Obamacare real soon.
Curtis Ellis, God bless you, man. Come back quick. Thanks.
I'd love to. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. Executive Director for the American Jobs Alliance and columnist for WorldNetDaily.com. He is tops on my list. Great information. Curtis Ellis, thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. We've got to get a weather forecast in here real quick, and the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Good. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Don't forget, if you got a little money back from the taxes and you want to invest in something delicious, how about the beef, pork, and chicken? You get a bundle of 70 pounds of that delicious meat for just $249 plus tax. Check it out. Your hometown meat cutter, Scarrows Meats, 324-7657. Here now is Gina with the weather.
Here's your Tuesday weather forecast for the 26th of April. Looks like partly cloudy skies for today. Winds will continue out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 58 tonight, low of 38. Tomorrow, pretty much the same, but the winds are going to be dying down. Looks like a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40. Mostly cloudy and 62 for Thursday, and by Friday, looks like partly cloudy and 63. Yesterday's high was 51. The overnight low was 40. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, man. Good job, Gina. Thank you very much. Kind of partly cloudy out there right now. Weather brought to you this hour by our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Yes, sir. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Call them, 324-7657. I got to get this note on real quick, or Elaine's going to be mad at me. The Minidoka County Republican Meet the Candidate Night will be Thursday night, May 5th. That's coming up next week at the Wilson Theater. The meet and greet starts at 6 p.m. and the forum starts at 7 p.m. Everybody should try to be there, okay? And then, let's see, what else have I got here on my public service announcements real quick. I got to go through my list. I had another one that was coming up. Oh, let's see, the Cassia County Forum, Republican ticket, will be meeting at the Burley High School Theater Thursday night this week, April 28th. And if for more information, call the Cassia County Chairman, Doug Pickett, at 300-3387. By the way, too, I want to say thank you. I'm headed over there right after the program, as a matter of fact. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. My goodness, do they provide a lot of services. The best in brake service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, and of course they've got all the batteries for every need. And also, don't forget, the best in service. Now, we're talking tires here, and they've got a whole bunch of tires on sale right now for your pickups and your SUVs and your passenger cars. All you need to do is stop in and see them today. 7 locations, and at all 7 locations, very convenient credit available for all the car tires, the services, etc. Stop in and see them today. Great people, really nice people. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What do we got cooking for tomorrow? I have not got a clue. I'm serious. My whole day kind of tomorrow fell apart because all the guests I had from 9:30, 10:06, 10:30, all of them called, I'm sick, I can't go on the air, or I got to fly out of town, so I'm going to have to really get to work this afternoon and line up some guests. And tomorrow is also Administrative Professionals Day. I think that used to be National Secretary's Day, but then everybody had to be politically correct. And so now they call it Administrative Professionals Day. Deanne, I salute you and I thank you for all you do. So that'll be coming up tomorrow. Don't forget, we'll ride the horse starting at 8:06 tomorrow morning and go for 3 hours. The first hour, open forum with all kinds of different stories and your comments. And then, of course, too, if you are out of the area and want to listen, go to zebbell.com. And that internet service all over the world. And if you want to watch, you can hit the audio first and then the video. And we've got cameras right here in the studio. You don't want to see everything, and I'll turn that part off. I'm kidding. But be sure and tune in again tomorrow morning at 8:06. Old Wheels is at the control board over there doing a great job, and we'll see you then. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. Have a good day.